Welcome to the Pink Pill RX podcast, hosted by Katie and Jay Fillmore, where we navigate complex and thought-provoking subjects surrounding women with a focus on education. For shorter form content, follow us on TikTok at Caters88.
That is KATORS88.
If you enjoy this podcast, please give us a follow.
Before we jump in today, we're going to do some housekeeping announcements here. First of all, I want to say that my sources are always cited in my TikTok bio at Caters88, as well as if anything is pertinent to the particular podcast, they will be linked in the show notes. And if I ever link what some might call a puff piece, I want you guys to know that I linked it on purpose because one, the sources are embedded in that piece, and two, I find that piece intriguing. And so I want you guys to have access to that as well. It's not that I think that blogs are actual citable sources, but if I find that the sources that they cite within the blog are legitimate, then I will sometimes link a blog post because the perspective is fascinating to me. And we also have a couple other announcements
that I think are kind of exciting. So we're currently, I don't know where you're listening to this on. It could be Spotify, it could be Apple Podcasts. We're hosted on Podbean, but we are now also on Pandora and on YouTube.
Woohoo!
So you can listen to us. If those are more of a preferred listening platform for yourselves, you can listen on there. And for those of you so far who have left us reviews or have liked and given us stars on Spotify or Apple, thank you so much. It's so encouraging to us to see those and to feel like, you know, we're putting content out there that is really meaningful for people. And also, though, we are trying on Apple specifically to get on their new and noteworthy platform. So if you listen on Apple, if you could specifically, please just consider giving us a review, giving us some stars on there, because we are trying to get featured on there so that our podcast can get pushed out there to a wider audience on Apple. And if you don't listen on Apple, but maybe you do have the Apple Podcast app or you're willing to download it, if you would listen to us on Apple and give us a review and some stars, that would just be really appreciated so we can get pushed out to more people.
Yeah, we have 90 days to do that, and we are at our 30-day mark. Can you believe that?
Whoa. No, that's holy cow.
And lastly, we want to hear your stories, whether they be your life stories, or if any of our content has had any significant impacts on you or your family, or even topics that you want us to talk about. We would love to hear from you guys. You can email us at katieandjayfillmore@gmail.com. That's KATIE and JAYFILLMORE@gmail.com. Right. Why do people do that? Why are there musical interludes?
I think probably to help you. I don't know. Is it for the audience or is it for the podcasters? Does it help you switch topics and change your mind a little bit?
These are the things I literally ask AI all the time. I use ChatGPT to navigate my life as an autistic person. So, social nuances, I will ask ChatGPT.
What have you asked it that is social? I didn't know you used it for that.
No, sometimes I will just like type in, why do people do this? Or why do people do that? I can't think of something.
Well, next time you do.
But next time I do, I'll let you know.
Let me know, because I would love to.
It's fascinating to me. So ChatGPT is my neurotypical friend.
You're fascinating to me, so I would love to see what you do. What are your musings?
What am I curious about?
Yeah.
About human behavior? I don't want to keep going over the same thing over and over, but I do there's been a lot of activity this weekend on the TikTok platform. And I wanted to go over just a couple things that I felt like were good things that were brought up that have to do with our last two podcast episodes. Also, by the way, if you guys are on our TikTok and you ever see Jay talking and he's got a lapel on, it means that that's an excerpt from the podcast. And if you guys go to the podcast, you can listen to the whole conversation instead of having to wait for me to post the edited versions. You can have the long form content if that's something that interests you. So,
do you ever post any videos, as we're recording a podcast? You ever record anything and put on TikTok that didn't make the cut into the podcast?
Usually not.
Oh, okay.
No, usually not. It's vice versa. The podcast has more content than TikTok. So TikTok does not have all the content that is in the podcast.
Got it.
Anyway, so the last 2 weeks, we've discussed how the patriarchy hurts men, and specifically about how men tend to avoid their feelings that are more feminine. We've kind of come to the agreement that that's mostly a socialized thing in boys, that they are socialized that way, that humans have the same ability to experience emotion, but that boys tend to be more socialized to experience emotions such as like anger versus other emotions. First off, I want to point out that men hiding the feminine characteristics is similar to what women experience when they're avoiding male characteristics. So like suppressing masculine directness or confidence even, or being outspoken. Girls are often conditioned to repress anger specifically due to societal norms that prioritize politeness and like likability. Okay, so from a young age, girls are taught to dial that down while boys are taught to dial that up.
Do you as a woman, when you're sending an email, feel like you need to add some exclamation points?
Oh, of
in
course.
There and things like that?
Smiley faces, exclamation points, just asking.
Oh.
If you can't, no worries.
Wow. Huh. So you're suppressing directness there.
Oh, yes. I will reread my emails, and I will sometimes have to soften them up. I work majority with women, and because of my autistic tendencies, I can be taken as being abrasive. And so I have learned that I have to throw in some exclamation points and smiley faces so that people don't think I'm mad at them. That's the thing, is they will think that you're like mad at them or that you're a bee, which is difficult. I feel like we kind of had a little bit of an experience like that last night, some personal stuff that we were discussing, and you asked me a question and I just answered it directly, and you felt like I was, because I answered it directly, that I was being like adversarial.
Well, you were just kind of mirroring
your blunt
my
questioning.
Directness. Yeah.
So I found that fascinating.
Oh, that is fascinating. I'm going to think about this when I'm done recording.
So I think that was an interesting point that was brought up about the girls also being conditioned, but like on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
Secondly, people have accused me of being abusive towards you because of the videos that we released about the patriarchy harming men. That you are being held captive against your will. That it is a satanic humiliation ritual that I'm performing.
Whoa!
And that
This isn't Hollywood.
that I'm purposefully, publicly emasculating you. Every single one of those comments was from a male individual, or at least from what I could tell, a cis male identifying individual. But my question to you is, one, do you feel that way? Do you feel pressure to talk about these things? And two, what is the value of talking about these things from your perspective? So let's start there about like the actual topic we were talking about, which was how the patriarchy harms men.
Yeah. Oh, I think that is, to me, that's because that impacts me more directly. That's very close to my heart, because I know there have to be other men that are like me that don't feel like their emotions in general have a place somewhere, or have an avenue or a medium somewhere. And I know for me, like, how that has just felt so like restricting and binding, and has caused all kinds of issues for me that I'm working through in counseling right now. And I don't want other men like me to like have to suffer, when it doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to believe that your emotions and feelings don't have a home somewhere. So that's very important to me, because I've suffered greatly because of that. And I don't want other men to have to continue to suffer the way that I have. And the people that are commenting, that are thinking these things, obviously have been fed, and you know what? Have digested different cultural narratives that are about a man talking about emotions, or a man experiencing them, is some type of weakness. And so, of course, I could not, of my own volition, dare to be interested in talking about these things. Instead, it has to be that I'm being coerced and I'm under duress.
It must be a satanic humiliation ritual. It has to be. It can't be that he's here. That is more improbable.
Yeah.
Than a satanic humiliation ritual.
Boy, if we ever actually start a theological podcast branch, You're going to see that is just not what's going on here. No, but the comments to me are case in point that you believe that a man doesn't talk about emotional experiences unless under duress. Excuse me? You've been fed something. I mean, it's case in point for the last couple episodes.
How about pink pilling in general? Like, why take up this purpose or this cause?
Because I have love in my heart for people, and women are people. Also, more personally, I very much love my wife, very much love you and care about you, and we're really good friends. And I have 4 daughters. The question isn't, they should not be asking, why is that important to me? It's, why would it not be important to me? I love my daughters. I love my wife. And in general, I love people, and women are people. So why would I not, why would I not feel like that's important to talk about? Especially as a man whose voice is heard very differently when speaking about topics related to women than a woman's voice. So my voice, I know, has a special power in it. So I'm going to use it.
I love that. Well, thank you for being here, because your voice has had power. The other thing that kept popping up in the comments were mainly moms that were concerned about how to not let this conditioning happen so severely to their sons. I would love to hear from both perspectives, from your perspective of what could mom have done, or what, in your opinion, moms could do. And same thing with dads.
Well, I'll speak first to moms. My first thought was, don't stop touching your sons. Don't stop hugging them. Don't stop, sitting close to them on the couch if you're watching something together. Keep that, because we need physical touch. But then I thought to myself, as boys get older, they feel like that's less okay because of peers and things like that. So even more important than that, I think, is from a young age, always be a safe person for your son to talk about his feelings. Always. And that includes listening. And listening is not just not interrupting, but it's listen to really what they're saying so that they're not misunderstood. And if you think, don't draw conclusions, just listen, ask clarifying questions, not interrogating questions, but clarifying questions, so that you can really understand what's going on with them. And then help guide them, because they have big feelings, just like your daughters do. They have big feelings that they don't know what to do with yet, because their brains aren't developed to compensate for that. Or to your brain doesn't cognitively grow to be able to handle your emotions until you're much older. So help guide them with their feelings. Help them know what they're feeling. Give them choices with different words that can mean sadness, but grief is one that's a specific kind. So help guide them with helping them understand what they're feeling. Help them to know or to identify where they feel emotions in their body, so they're not disconnected from their body. And then help them to be able to learn the skills and have the tools to express their emotions, so that they can bring that into their friendships. And start that at a young age and never stop. Because then if they are in touch with their bodies and in touch with their feelings, that's a powerful masculinity, in my opinion. But also, when it comes to hugging and being physically affectionate with your son, they won't be as turned off from that as they get older, because they're more in touch with their bodies and more in touch with their feelings. They're more mature. And I think it's the same thing for fathers, but fathers also, and it's trial and error. I mean, I have 4 kids and I'm just trial and erroring all the time. But model what it looks like to feel hard emotions, to be able to express them responsibly, and invite them into it. And don't make it to where they don't have a male figure that they can look to, that they love and respect, that they don't have someone like that to be able to see some modeling of what it looks like to express yourself, to allow yourself to feel something, and then to be able to, I don't want to say move on from it, but be able to move forward with it.
Yeah, and I think modeling of emotion without responsibility of the child.
Absolutely, yes.
So they need to see that, but not have responsibility for needing to fix that.
Or comfort.
Because now it's scary.
Yes.
Now it's I'm ill-equipped. Now it's I don't know what to do with this.
Right.
But reassuring that you don't have anything that you need to do with this, that this is all normal human spectrum emotion. It's okay to just bear witness to it.
Yeah. You know, you do this and I do this. And I'm going to give an example from last night. Our second oldest, I forgot what I was disappointed about. But my second oldest had said, you know, I'm sorry you're disappointed about that. I was going to do this for you. It was some act of service. It was really nice. But she didn't for X, Y, or Z. I can't remember. And I said, thank you so much. That means a lot to me that you would want to do that for me. I also want you to know that it's not your job or responsibility to fix my disappointment. So I wanted to like praise her and thank her, make her feel good about what she wanted to offer me. But also I always want her to know, all of our kids to know, that if I'm disappointed or if I'm frustrated or if I'm sad, it's not your job to fix it.
Cannot have the parentification of the child in emotional learning situations, I feel like.
Yes. Yes. And you're really, you do that more frequently, I think, than I do, too.
Do what more frequently?
Clarify to them that, hey, this isn't your job to fix what I'm feeling.
Yeah, because they're learning. They're learning the range of emotion, and they're learning to tolerate it without it making them feel uncomfortable. We don't need to add an extra layer of, now you need to respond to this in a way that makes me happy. No, that's not what we're going to do here.
Yeah, because then you grow up to be an adult, and when somebody else is having difficult emotions and you're present, there's a panic of like, what do I do? Or I need to immediately throw myself into action. Sometimes it's just bearing witness and holding space for a person.
I think, and maybe I'm wrong with this because I don't know, I do not have a son. But I feel like as someone, I keep bringing up the spectrum on this podcast, but as somebody who is on the spectrum, what is helpful to me too is to know the science behind things and to know that the conditioning is happening, to be aware of that. Also, even to know like, oh, the science behind tears. And guess what? Tears are great for pain relief and they detoxify the body of stress-related toxins. And it's great for eye health. And they're considered actually an evolutionary trait to increase survival and all this stuff that there's so much information out there that you could actually take the emotion out of the emotion in a sense by giving it the scientific backing of this is just facts. You will be healthier if you cry. You just will. Like, you can decide not to, and you can decide to bury that. And tears with different emotions, if you're feeling different emotions, those tears look differently under the microscope. Like, there are different kinds of tears. Like, there's a reason why we cry. So that just being one of the examples of sciencing the feelings.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that's just another example of what culture and the patriarchy takes from men. Because we are told crying is not masculine, do not do it. Some are robbed of these health benefits.
Exactly. Lastly, something that kept popping up in the comments that I found the most scientifically intriguing were comments from the trans community, which I super appreciate because I didn't even think about this perspective. There was a lot of comments about female to male transitions and how when going on testosterone, it caused them to not be able to decipher their feelings as well. Isn't that interesting? And they reported a higher reactivity to anger as well, which makes sense with the testosterone.
Yes.
But they couldn't decipher their feelings as well.
Oh.
Guess what? Opposite was true from male to female transitions. When they started estrogen, they started being able to decipher their feelings better.
Oh my gosh.
So it wasn't about feeling emotion. It was about the ability to decipher what I am feeling. So then I did a deep dive.
Sweet. Lay it on us.
Hey, what's going on here? Because this is anecdotal, but this is a significant insight of someone who could really give that insight. So higher testosterone levels can impair the ability to recognize certain emotions, specifically disgust, and it decreases sensitivity to angry facial expressions. Studies have shown that individuals with elevated testosterone levels exhibit lower accuracy in detecting emotions, especially at lower intensity of emotional expression. So this is more of looking at somebody else and being able to interpret the way that they feel as well. One study found that there was a negative correlation between testosterone levels and the ability to recognize disgust and fear in facial expressions, particularly when those emotions were displayed at about a 50% intensity.
When it's more subtle.
Yeah. Well, but testosterone increased the neural reactivity when it came to being hypervigilant to emotional shifts.
Oh.
So if there's a shift, supposedly it makes you more aware of a shift.
Interesting.
But it doesn't make you more aware of what emotion is necessarily being displayed. But you're more sensitive to that kind of stimuli when it comes to the shift of that. I don't know if you agree with that or not. But high testosterone levels may downregulate the interaction between cognitive and emotional systems, which impacts emotional intelligence and control at times.
Okay. We talked in the last episode about how things were cultural and societal and by nurture, right?
Right.
This obviously shows that that's not the only thing, right?
Yes, but I think we're talking about two different things.
Okay.
We're talking about deciphering, I feel like here, of like what's what. It makes it harder.
Yeah. Well, I identify with that.
To decipher. But
I don't know how I feel about.
I don't have the feels. You have the feels. They're just all in a basket that's harder to sort out.
It's all jumbled together.
And same thing when looking at other people. They're all in a basket that's harder to sort out.
So like, I don't know what to do about that. Like, how can I learn how to decipher?
You have to be intentional. It's not going to come as naturally to you to decipher. So the practices that you're doing with how does it feel in my body and things like that. Because now, and this was not for every emotion, note. Mm-hmm. This was for very specific emotions.
That is interesting.
Estrogen. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the female hormone here. Higher levels of estrogen, especially during the follicular phase of the menstrual cycle, is associated with better accuracy in recognizing emotions, particularly fear. So what's interesting is these hormones have very specific effects on very specific emotions.
Yeah.
I had to take this a step further because I'm like, bro, what about hormonal birth control? What does that do?
Oh, shoot.
Well, apparently it does a whole heck of a lot I wasn't aware of. Uh-huh. These stats that I'm about to read off are from the CDC between the years 2017 and 2019. Nearly all women use contraception in their lifetimes. Although at any given time, approximately 65% of women between the ages of 15 and 49 are on birth control. 14% of those women are on oral hormonal birth control, and 10% is on long-acting reversibles like Mirena or Paragard. Now, Mirena is hormonal, and it's more popular than Paragard. Paragard is not hormonal, but it has more side effects than Mirena, and so a lot of times Mirena is the one that's chosen.
Okay.
So let's just estimate that like 20% of the 65% are on some form of hormonal birth control. And this is the findings about hormonal birth control. They make it harder for women to decipher emotions. Interesting. Research indicates that users of oral contraceptives exhibit reduced accuracy in recognizing complex emotional expressions compared to naturally cycling women. That's what they call it when you're not on birth control, apparently.
Okay.
Studies found specifically that they are 10% less accurate on average when identifying subtle emotions such as pride or contempt, while their ability to recognize basic emotions like happiness or fear remains relatively unaffected. The hypothalamus, pituitary, and gonadal axis, for example, regulates reproductive function, and it can be disrupted by hormonal birth control. So because hormonal birth control affects that system, that hypothalamus, pituitary, gonadal axis, that disruption leads to changes in neural signaling within the limbic system, which affects mood regulation, potentially also leading to symptoms of depression or anxiety. Hormonal birth control may also affect cognitive abilities, such as memory and attention, due to alterations in neurotransmitter levels. These effects that I'm reading are not uniform amongst all individuals. Obviously, everybody's makeup is unique, and it does have to deal with your hormonal sensitivity. Some people are more sensitive to hormones than other people. But this is the thing that terrified me, aside from the fact that it's a class 1 carcinogen.
I forgot it was.
Yes. Women who begin relationships while using hormonal contraceptives may choose partners based on different criteria than those who are not using them.
Oh.
Which can lead to a mismatch in partner preferences when they stop using hormonal birth
Oh
control,
my gosh.
potentially resulting in decreased satisfaction and overall relationship quality. And there is a ton of research done on this.
Oh no.
This is not some obscure study. This has been done and replicated. They found that women on the pill are less attracted to men with traditionally masculine features, like strong jawlines, muscular builds, and more drawn to partners who exhibit traits associated with stability, kindness, and nurturing. And this shift in attraction is thought to be influenced by hormonal changes that affect mate selection strategies, okay? Which makes sense because when you're on birth control, it kind of tricks your body into thinking that you're not fertile, right?
Okay.
And so you're going to be more interested then in a man that can be a better parent than a man that can get you pregnant.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, so it's like an evolutionary thing, which is so fascinating.
Whoa.
So women who discontinue hormonal contraceptives often report changes in their feelings towards their partners, especially regarding attractiveness. If a woman starts a relationship while on birth control and later decides to stop using it, her preferences may shift back to favoring more traditional masculine traits.
Oh man.
So don't start a relationship on hormonal birth control. Another study reported lower sexual satisfaction and increased likelihood of initiating separations if their relationships deteriorated. However, they were also more satisfied with their partner's parental provision, which makes sense. Again, back to that birth control evolutionary thing. Also, they found that it can affect intuition, particularly in the context of emotional recognition and processing.
That is what I can imagine the horror. You're with a partner, you go off of hormonal birth control, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't like the way you look. Or vice versa. You go on it, and then you think to yourself, he's not as nice. He's not being nice. Or maybe you're recognizing he's not as nice as I thought he was.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's terrifying.
So messing with them hormones, man, they can do a lot when it comes to emotional recognition, not emotional range or depth or ability to feel.
Right. But if you can't decipher how you're feeling, it's hard to feel emotionally regulated. For me, it is. If I can't decipher what I'm feeling, I don't know how to be able to interact with it. I can't identify what it is.
I wonder if that's a form of intellectualizing, though, that I have to know. I can't just experience.
It is. It is. That's exactly what my counselor has told me.
Oh, okay.
I do. So you mentioned intuition regarding how that can change with when you're on hormonal birth control or not. I have some thoughts about intuition.
Okay.
That are interesting to me. So intuition, I have thought in the past, is some woo-woo, weird spiritual thing, which is unexplainable. Just who knows what it is, and therefore I don't trust it. But I think it's more properly defined as it's a gut feeling, yeah, but it's something that you know without conscious reasoning. And then to me that says, oh, well, the only explanation is not some weird woo-woo spirituality. It's maybe your subconscious is recognizing something, whether it's recognizing a pattern and it's predicting what it knows will come next, or it just notices something with body language or the twitch of somebody's eye or something nuanced that your conscious mind didn't catch. Because you've told me before, I don't know if you know the numbers or not, but the amount of information your subconscious takes in, that your conscious conscious mind is not aware of.
It's insane. Like
it's like 10 to 1.
Millions of pieces of information.
Yeah. And so of course your mind, your subconscious mind, is doing things all the time that you have no idea about. And so understanding that makes me feel a bit better about jiving with my intuition. But I wonder, I have a curiosity first I'll say this. I think women's intuition is a special subset of the broader category of intuition. And I think it's specific to women. You hear about my mom woke up at 1 a.m. when I was in a car accident 3 hours away. It happened like around that time. She's already awake with a bad feeling. What is that? Is that entangled particles? Is that because some of my DNA is still? I don't know. I have no idea. But I think broadly, intuition is universal. My curiosity is, do women experience it, broadly speaking, not women's intuition, but broadly speaking, more than men, or recognize it more than men, or value it more than men? Because men, we have been conditioned, like our last episode was talking about, to be disconnected from our emotions, disconnected from our gut feelings, maybe disconnected from our bodies and stuff. I mean, what are your, do you have any thoughts with that curiosity?
I do think that women's intuition to some extent is evolutionary because they have to be hypervigilant for offspring.
That makes sense.
So I think there is this inborn hypervigilance specifically for offspring. However, I came to play.
Oh.
Because I did look some stuff up before this
Oh,
conversation.
great. Because for those of you listening, I brought this up 10 minutes before we started recording, maybe 15 maybe.
You know, we've talked about before how women have a greater capacity, supposedly slightly, for empathy and neural connections. They have more,
Right.
I think it's communication between the hemispheres or something like that.
Oh,
like slightly
your brain
more.
hemispheres?
Yes. But, I mean, according to what I could find, cultural factors majorly play a role because women are socialized to be more observant and be more observant of nonverbal cues and emotional subtleties. Because we're not supposed to be outspoken and we're supposed to be more observant. And so that can enhance naturally the intuitive skills.
Sure.
Okay. And then this conditioning encourages women to develop like this keen awareness of their surroundings and their feelings about others, which only just reinforces the idea that intuition is a feminine trait. However, it's not exclusive to women, and societal norms is what leads to that perception that women are more intuitive than men. Men may possess similar intuitive capabilities, but are less likely to express or trust these instincts due to cultural expectations that emphasize rationality over emotional insight.
Yes, that's the verbiage I was trying to think of earlier, because you think feelings bad, logic good, and therefore having a gut feeling about something feels more like an emotion than it does sound reasoning. So I want to dismiss it. What you're saying is, so if women culturally are influenced to be more observant, that means your subconscious is taking in even more data points than your average man. And so your intuition has more data to play with, and therefore it can make more predictions and can notice more things.
I have those numbers for the subconscious and conscious.
Oh, great.
Do you want to hear them?
Yes, I do.
Okay. The subconscious mind can process around 11 million bits of information per second.
What's a bit? Is
I
that
think
computer language? It's the smallest unit of data a computer can store. It's often a 0 or a 1. Regardless, it's a large number.
The subconscious processes 27,500 times more data than the conscious mind.
Okay, that regardless what a bit is, that's huge.
So the subconscious mind can process 11 million bits of information per second through the various sensory systems. And this includes inputs from these. Okay, so listen, the eyes, 10 million bits a second. The skin, 1 million bits. Ears, 100,000. Smell, 100,000. And taste, 1,000. Compared with the conscious processing, that's only 50 bits per second.
Dang.
Which means 27,500 times more data is coming into your subconscious than your conscious mind. So yes, I do think that by being trained to be observant and being quiet probably strengthens your relationship between your conscious and subconscious mind. What else are you going to do? Sitting there watching people?
You know, I looked up the conversion, and this source says a bit with computing is 1/8 of a byte. So I ran the numbers. You said 11 million bits per second?
Yes.
That's about 1.4 megabytes of data every second your subconscious is working with.
That's just having to,
Every
filter
second,
out.
1.4
So
megabytes.
why would you not trust your subconscious? Shouldn't we put more weight
Yes.
into the intuition feeling? You are taking in more information.
Yes. Yes.
Why only work with the 50 bits?
You know, I feel like in the West specifically, it's not scientific enough. Now, the thing is, it is scientific. We're talking about data points your subconscious takes in. The subconscious is very scientific. It's part of the human experience. But we don't have enough, I don't know, psychology or neurology to, like, for the layman to understand it. And so it doesn't feel scientific, so it feels woo-woo, so we don't want to listen to it.
I think encouraging intuition in sons and boys.
Yeah.
It would be another thing that parents could do to help with emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
What does your gut tell you? What do you like? How do you feel about it?
Yeah. That has saved us several times.
It has. Our combined gut feelings.
Uh-huh. As men get older, testosterone levels get lower. So as men age, are they more able to identify and distinguish between feelings?
It increases with age.
What does?
With men. So emotional intelligence generally rises throughout a person's working life, peaking around the age of 60. Older adults tend to be better at processing and interpreting emotions compared to younger individuals who may struggle more with emotional regulation and expression.
And it's not just because you haven't learned enough yet. It's because your hormone levels are a challenge. Like you trade off the benefits of testosterone being high when you're young for these, pitfalls emotionally.
It has to do with lifelong learning and stuff like that, but I do think there has to be a hormonal component here.
Yeah, I'm sure lifelong learning plays into it too. That'd be silly to not take that into account for sure. Yeah, I agree with you. There has to be some kind of correlation there.
Listen, a study shows that 31% of men under the age of 40 struggle to identify their emotions, compared to only 8% of men over 40.
You're
4 years away.
Well, 4 years in a week.
Now I want to see if women get less emotionally intelligent. Nope, women just keep getting better and better, baby.
What does it say?
No, it says that women do not get less emotionally intelligent as they age. Rather, emotional intelligence tends to improve or remain stable throughout the aging process.
Oh, well, that part of my theory proves to be false.
I would imagine. I mean, honestly, as you age, you have so much life experience that you understand more and more why people do the things they do.
Mm. And you've met enough different types of people and had enough experiences to recognize. Yeah, the older you get, the more you realize things are not black and white. They are all kinds of shades of gray.
Oh, man, yes. Man, the glory days of being like 20 years old and being like, nope, that's right, this is wrong.
What did I think about?
I don't know, but man, I was pretty decisive.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I have
too.
no idea. It's just one big cauldron.
It's so complex.
Just gray matter everywhere.
That's funny.
As per usual, it is always a pleasure.
Yes.
My friend.
I am, just so everyone knows, I'm not under duress. I'm here of my own volition.
Blink twice if you need help.
It's an audio podcast. I can't.
Okay, well, we hope that you guys have a good week.
Yes.
And
happy Monday if this is Monday for you.
If this is Monday for you, happy Monday. You're going to be good. It's going to be okay. We're going to get through it.
Christmas is soon.
That's not always a good thing for people, though. So if it's not a good thing,
you're right.
Let's just not think about it.
That's true. You see, it's complex. It's not black and white.
Let's not feel any emotions about it. What do we do here?
Happy Festivus from Seinfeld.
Happy Festivus.
Stay educated. Take the pink pill.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a follow. For shorter form content, follow us on TikTok at Caters88.